Hey guys, so today, or I guess kind of in the next few video series here, I want to talk a little bit about some of the factors that lead to obesity. Some of the factors that are involved in kind of driving how much weight that each of us carries and that sort of thing. Okay, and like I had said beforehand, when it comes to losing weight, we really need to follow the simple thermodynamic formula of that the calories in has to be less than the calories going out. Okay, so to lose weight, to burn our excess adipose stores, that's what needs to happen. But how do we get our calories in to be less than the calories that are going out? And there's a huge number of factors that are going to be involved in playing a role in that, and a shitload of them that we have absolutely no control over whatsoever. Genetics is one of them. So I want to start with genetics because genetics, I mean, that's the fundamental code that makes each of us our own individual, and it's extremely complex. We're just starting to scratch the surface of it, and I find it quite fascinating. So from a genetic standpoint, what we know right now is that there's about 100 different genes that are involved in driving the amount of weight that an individual is going to carry. Now, most of those genes are actually found in the brain and are going to drive things like our appetite, our wanting for food, our hunger signaling, all those various things. So within our brain, we have all of these genes that are going to drive us to potentially put on and gain weight throughout the duration of our lives. Now, how do we know that obesity is linked to genetics? We've done a couple of studies. So the first one that we looked at is we did what was called a twin study. So we took identical twins, we took a number of different pairs, and we put them in what we call a metabolic chamber. So we control all the calories that are going in and we control all the calories that are going out. Now what we found is that twins would lose and gain weight at a similar rate, and then between the twin pairs, they would actually lose and gain weight at different rates. So obviously the twin pairs, they're completely different from the various other twins that are there. And so yeah, it makes sense that those people are going to lose and gain weight at a different rate. So there's a genetic component there. We also know that we looked at kids who had been adopted, and if their real parents, their original parents, had struggled with weight issues later on in life, what we found is that the kids that were adopted also struggled with weight issues later on in life, even if their adoptive parents didn't have any weight issues whatsoever. So that shows us that there's, once again, a strong genetic linkage that the genes you get from your mom and dad are ultimately going to drive and lead to the kind of weight that you're going to carry potentially throughout your life. So a genetic linkage in that respect of things. Now, there is a whole bunch of research, and what we've discovered is a whole bunch of conditions that are single gene mutations. So if we go along the genetic code, individual genes have a single point mutation that often leads to an individual to not being able to lose weight, to gain weight more easily, and a bunch of other different things. Now, it's a bit out of the scope of this video, but that definitely plays a huge role for individual diseases and conditions that are going to drive an individual to potentially have obesity. Now, there's one other area that I want to call that I want to discuss is called epigenetics. Now, epigenetics is really cool. It's really starting to kind of revolutionize a lot of our understanding of the genetic genome and how our genes work. What essentially epigenetics is that you may have your genetic code and you may have X number of genes that could potentially lead to you driving how much weight you're going to carry or how easily you lose weight, etc. And what we know is that epigenetics kind of get activated based on what environment we live in, how much sleep we get, the food that we eat, the amount of exercise that we do, who we hang out with. All of these various stressors and other things in our lives are going to flip these switches on or off. And when these switches are flipped on and off, it's going to basically function in deciding which genes are being turned on and which ones are being turned off. And in some situations, depending on the environment, amount of sleep, etc., when those genes are getting switched on, what it's going to do is it's going to cause you to gain weight, whether it's increasing your appetite, decreasing your hunger hormones, whatever the case may be. So this epigenetics is really driven by the environmental cues and environmental factors that are around us, okay? And so these genes are getting flipped on and off and play a big role in our ability to possibly gain or lose weight and anything in that sense of things. So really, really a fascinating area. And it's currently emerging, and it'd be great if we could be like, okay, you have X, Y, and Z gene that are currently on and it's causing you to gain weight. Well, we're just going to do this and it's going to shut them off and you're going to be able to lose weight. We're not quite there with the science, but it is quickly expanding and growing as we get further and further understanding. But there definitely is a multitude of different complexities and things that go into it. And so genetics, play a huge, huge role. And it's very complex. There's a lot going into it, and it's fascinating. But there is a big genetic component when it comes to obesity and the amount of weight that each of us carries. And when it comes to our genetic code and that sort of thing, there is absolutely nothing we can do about it. So, hope that provides a little bit of information for you guys. Brief introduction into the kind of the genetics. Like I said, I'm no expert in the area, but I find it very fascinating, and it's something we definitely think about from a clinical perspective and how I'm going to ultimately treat and manage my patients. And yeah, it plays a big freaking role. So very cool in that perspective things. If there's any questions, please feel free to reach out. But like, share this video, and yeah, we'll talk to you later.